Good evening, gentlemen. I am John Leland, a humble Baptist minister, hymnographer, and advocate of religious freedom. I am here to moderate this historical debate between our candidates, President John Adams and Vice President Thomas Jefferson. Our nation stands at a critical juncture, and the people deserve to hear where you each stand on the pressing issues of the day. President Adams, let's start with you. The Alien and Sedition Acts have been highly controversial. Many claim they infringe upon the rights of free speech and free press. Why did you support these laws?
Reverend Leland, the Alien and Sedition Acts were enacted to protect the very fabric of our young republic. At a time when foreign influences and internal dissension threatened our stability, these laws served as necessary measures to preserve our government. As I've said, the country must be defended from foreign influence and domestic sedition. It is not to suppress freedom, but to safeguard it from those who would destroy it.
Mr. Jefferson, your response?
Mr. Leland, these acts are a direct assault on the Constitution. They are instruments of tyranny, allowing the federal government to silence opposition and imprison dissenters. Our government should be one of the people, by the people, for the people, not one that crushes the liberties of its citizens. I believe these laws are not only unconstitutional, but also unwise, for they provoke the people rather than unite them.
Mr. Jefferson, you ignore the reality of the situation. Our nation is young and vulnerable. Are we to let hostile forces undermine us from within? My duty is to protect the nation, even if it means taking unpopular steps.
Mr. Adams, your notion of protection is the very danger we sought to escape when we fought the British Crown. We cannot trade liberty for security.
Mr. Jefferson, many of your supporters believe that the federal government has overreached its powers. What is your vision for the proper role of the federal government?
Thank you, Reverend Leland. I have always believed in limited government. One that governs least governs best. The Constitution is a compact among sovereign states, not a mandate for a powerful central authority.
President Adams, your response?
Mr. Jefferson speaks of restraint, but he underestimates the necessity of a strong, energetic government. The Articles of Confederation failed because they lacked this very strength. A robust federal government is essential to maintain order, protect our interests, and provide for the common defense. As I have said, fear is the foundation of most governments. It is the duty of government to act decisively in the face of danger, foreign or domestic.
Our government should be focused on protecting the rights of individuals and states, not accumulating power. I advocate for a wise and frugal government, which shall restrain men from injuring one another and leave them otherwise free to regulate their own pursuits.
And a government too weak is but an invitation to anarchy and external threat. We must strike a balance.
Mr. Adams, your vision risks eroding the liberties we fought so hard to secure. A government with too much power can be as tyrannical as any monarch.
President Adams, let's turn to our relationship with France. You have been criticized for your handling of the quasi-war. Some say you have been too aggressive, and others that you have been too timid. What is your perspective?
My policy was one of firmness tempered by a desire for peace. France, under the Directory, acted with contempt towards our sovereignty, seizing our ships and demanding bribes in the infamous XYZ affair. I sought to defend our rights, but I also pursued diplomacy, sending envoys to negotiate a settlement. As I have said, I desire no other insatiable lust for war than for the preservation of peace, and I achieved it without spilling American blood.
Mr. Jefferson, what would you have done differently?
Mr. Adams allowed his mistrust of France to cloud his judgment. Our disputes could have been resolved through diplomacy alone. The quasi-war was unnecessary and only served to divide us further. As I have stated, peace, commerce, and honest friendship with all nations, entangling alliances with none. We should have remained strictly neutral and focused on internal improvements, not on confrontations abroad.
Mr. Jefferson's approach would have left us defenseless and humiliated before France. Sometimes firmness is the only language that tyrants understand.
And sometimes firmness escalates into folly. We should never have let the situation deteriorate to the point of conflict.
Mr. Jefferson, naval expansion has been a significant issue. What is your stance on building a strong Navy?
While I agree that defense is important, I am skeptical of a large standing Navy. It leads to unnecessary entanglements and expenses. Instead, I advocate for a coastal defense and a small fleet of gunboats. As I have argued, commerce is our greatest protection. We should focus on maintaining friendly relations with all, rather than preparing for war.
President Adams?
Mr. Jefferson's vision is naive. A strong Navy is essential to protect our commerce and sovereignty. Without it, our merchant ships are vulnerable to piracy and hostile nations. I believe, as I have stated, a Navy is our natural defense, our wooden walls. It is the best means of preserving peace through strength. We must be prepared to defend our interests at sea.
A large Navy will only provoke the very conflicts you wish to avoid. It is a path to unnecessary war.
And neglecting our defense invites aggression. A nation must be ready to stand strong, or it will surely fall.
Gentlemen, we have spoken of foreign policy and national security, but there is an issue close to home that demands attention. Slavery is a growing evil in our nation. Each of you have privately expressed opposition to the continuation of this barbaric practice. Please describe how you plan to use the presidency to help the 900,000 people currently enslaved in our great nation. Of course. Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, thank you both. May the people choose wisely. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
All right.